The announcement went live at midnight station time. Daewon, Sujin, and Hyunwoo stood in the facility's main hangar, surrounded by 47 ancient ships, as they broadcast their message across the entire galactic network. Sujin spoke first, her lawyer's voice clear and confident. "We are announcing the creation of the Heritage Fleet Foundation, a multi-species non-profit organization dedicated to preserving historical spacecraft. Effective immediately, the entire collection currently housed in this facility is being donated to this foundation for public benefit." The reaction was instant and overwhelming. Within minutes, the message had been shared across thousands of worlds. News organizations picked it up. Historians started analyzing it. Politicians began making statements, but more importantly, the legal situation changed completely. Stellar Acquisitions couldn't claim ownership of something that no longer had an owner. The Tovan Syndicate couldn't extort money from a public foundation. Even the government's cultural protection laws became irrelevant because the ships were already protected. Daewon watched the responses scroll across his screen. Most were positive. Some were suspicious. A few were angry. "The Tovan Syndicate is responding," the broker's voice said through the facility's speakers. "They are not happy. Their leadership is gathering forces for an assault." "How many?" Daewon asked. 30 combat operatives, 5 assault shuttles. They plan to destroy the facility if they cannot take it. They are calling it punishment for disrespecting them. Sujin's face went pale. "The station security can't handle that. We need to evacuate." "No," Daewon said firmly. "We stand our ground. These ships survived wars and centuries. They're not getting destroyed because of pirates." Hyunwoo pulled up the facility's defense systems. "The automated turret stopped them last time, but that was only 6 attackers. 30 is different. We need more firepower." Daewon looked at the ships surrounding them. 47 vessels, many of them warships, all in perfect condition. An idea formed in his mind, crazy but possible. "Can we activate the ship's weapon systems remotely?" Hyunwoo's eyes widened. "Theoretically, yes. But we'd need to interface with each ship's computer individually. That would take hours. What if we had help?" Daewon looked at the holographic projection where the broker's presence flickered. "Can your collective access multiple systems simultaneously?" "We can," the broker replied. "But the weapon systems are isolated. We would need physical access to each ship first. Then we do it manually. All 3 of us." "We board each ship, establish the connection, and let the broker handle the rest." They worked frantically for the next 4 hours. Daewon took the warships. Sujin handled the medium vessels. Hyunwoo managed the smaller craft. They opened airlocks, climbed into ancient cockpits, and activated systems that hadn't been used in decades. The ships woke up one by one. Lights flickered on. Engines hummed. Weapon systems charged. The Vorel Dreadnought's main cannon powered up with a sound like thunder. The crystalline vessel's energy beams began to glow. Even the smallest scout ships extended their defensive arrays. By the time the Tovan Syndicate arrived, the hangar had transformed into a fortress. They came fast and aggressive, their assault shuttles blasting through the station's outer defenses. Alarms blared across Omega-7 as the attack began. Station security tried to respond but was quickly overwhelmed. The Syndicate forces breached the Section D-17 perimeter and headed straight for the facility. They had plasma charges to blow through the main door. They had military-grade weapons. They had experience and numbers. What they didn't have was any expectation of what they would face. As they approached the facility, every ship in the hangar simultaneously activated its weapon systems. The energy signatures were massive, lighting up every sensor on the station. The Tovan assault team stopped, confused. Daewon's voice echoed across their communication channel. "This is your only warning. Leave now or face the consequences." The Syndicate leader laughed. "You're bluffing. Those ships are museum pieces. They can't fire." "Try me," Daewon replied. The Syndicate leader gave the order to advance. His forces moved forward, weapons raised. The Vorel Dreadnought fired first. Its main cannon, designed to destroy capital ships in space battles, unleashed a beam of concentrated energy that carved through the station's rock wall like it was paper. The shot missed the Syndicate forces deliberately, but close enough to send them diving for cover. Then the other ships opened fire. Energy beams, plasma bolts, and projectile weapons created a wall of destruction that nobody could pass through. The Syndicate's assault shuttles tried to retreat, but found their engines disabled by precision shots from the smaller scout ships. It was over in less than 5 minutes. The Syndicate forces surrendered, their weapons destroyed, their shuttles grounded, their leader calling for mercy. Station security arrived moments later, led by Jiwoo and backed by human naval forces that had been rushing to respond to the attack. They took the Syndicate members into custody, stunned by what they found. Jiwoo walked through the hangar, looking at the ships, at the scorch marks from weapons fire, at Daewon standing in the middle of it all. "You turned a historical collection into a military defense system," she said. "I protected what needed protecting," Daewon replied. The aftermath was complicated but ultimately positive. The Tovan Syndicate leadership was arrested, their organization broken. Stellar Acquisition's legal claim collapsed under scrutiny, and the corrupt judge was removed from office. The station itself benefited from the increased attention. With new security measures and infrastructure improvements, Yunbi submitted her final report, recommending the Heritage Fleet Foundation as the proper custodian of the collection. The government approved it, with conditions that the foundation would make the ships available for study and public viewing. The broker's AI collective received a 5-year lease on the precursor vessel, with strict oversight and requirements to share all research. They agreed to help maintain the facility's security systems in exchange. 6 months later, the Heritage Fleet Museum opened to the public. Visitors from dozens of species came to see the ships. Students studied them. Historians documented them. The facility that Daewon bought for 5,000 credits became one of the most visited sites in human space. Daewon stood in his office, now officially titled Chief Curator, watching crowds of people walk through the hangar below. Hyunwoo had become the lead technical expert, managing a team of specialists who maintained the ships. Soojin handled all legal and business operations, ensuring the foundation remained independent and well-funded. Jiwoo worked as the facility's security director, having resigned from the station administration to help build something better. Yunbi visited regularly, providing expertise and occasionally teaching classes about preservation techniques. The door to Daewon's office opened. Soojin walked in carrying a cup of coffee for him. "The quarterly reports are good," she said. "We're generating enough revenue from admissions and research licenses to be completely self-sufficient. The foundation is secure for the foreseeable future." "I still can't believe this is real," Daewon said. "6 months ago I was bankrupt. Now I'm running a museum worth trillions." "You're not running a museum. You're preserving history. There's a difference." A message came through on Daewon's communication device. It was from the broker. "We wanted to inform you that our research has been successful. The precursor technology has allowed us to create prototype physical forms. We are beginning the process of rebuilding our civilization. As a gesture of gratitude, we have named our new homeworld Daewon in your honor. We hope this is acceptable." Daewon sat down, overwhelmed. An entire civilization, reborn, named after him. It seemed impossible. "You changed their lives," Soojin said quietly. "You gave them a second chance." "I just did what felt right. That's what makes it matter." That evening, Daewon took a walk through the hangar after the museum closed. He walked between the ships, touching their hulls, remembering the journey that brought him here. From bankruptcy to discovery to battle to preservation, he stopped in front of the Varel dreadnought, the ship that had fired that first warning shot. The ancient warship sat silent now, its weapons powered down, its purpose changed from destruction to inspiration. Somewhere in the station, families were eating dinner. Children were playing. Workers were finishing their shifts. Life continued, ordinary and precious, and all of it was protected by these ancient ships that had found new purpose. Daewon thought about the previous owner, the mysterious collector who had saved these vessels and kept them hidden for 40 years. He hoped that person, wherever they were, would approve of what he had done. His communication device buzzed. It was Hyunwoo. "Hey boss, we just received an inquiry from a museum on New Terra. They want to know if we'd be interested in acquiring 3 more historical ships they've been storing. They think our foundation is the right place for them." Daewon smiled. "Tell them yes. We'll make room." As he walked back to his office, he passed a group of young students on a late tour. They were gathered around a crystalline transport ship, their faces full of wonder. A human girl asked her teacher, Why did someone save all these ships? Sujin arrived on Omega-7 2 days later, carrying a single bag and wearing an expensive business suit that looked completely out of place on the dirty station. She was taller than Daewon remembered, and her hair was now cut short in a professional style. When she saw him waiting at the docking bay, her expression softened for just a moment. "You look terrible," she said. "Nice to see you too," Daewon replied. They didn't hug. Too many years had passed, too many harsh words spoken. But as they walked back to the facility, Sujin stayed close to him, and that meant something. When she saw the ships, Sujin stopped walking. She stood there for a full minute just staring. Then she turned to Daewon. "You weren't exaggerating. I told you it was big." "Big? Daewon, this is historically significant. This has changed the galaxy significant. Do you understand the trouble you're in?" "I'm starting to." Sujin pulled out a portable computer and started taking notes. "Okay, let's assess the situation. You have the Tovan Syndicate threatening you. You have government claims on culturally protected items. You have a mysterious buyer. And you have a corporation trying to steal everything with fake ownership documents. Did I miss anything?" "That covers most of it." "Most of it? What else?" Daewon told her about Jiwoo's confession and about Eunbi from the Antiquities Bureau. Sujin thought for a moment. The government inspector might actually be helpful. If she's as stern as you say, she's probably honest. The station administrator is compromised but trying to do the right thing. We can work with that. Over the next week, Sujin built their defense. She contacted lawyers on 3 different worlds. She filed legal documents. She researched precedents and loopholes. She worked 18-hour days, sleeping in the facility's old quarters. Hyunwoo continued analyzing the ships. One evening, he called everyone together with excitement in his voice. "I found something incredible," he said, leading them to the smallest ship in the collection. It was barely 20 feet long with a smooth silver surface that seemed to glow with its own light. "This is a precursor vessel," Hyunwoo explained. "The precursors were an ancient civilization that disappeared millions of years ago. Most of what we know about faster-than-light travel comes from studying their ruins." "What makes this one special?" Sujin asked. "It has a working jump gate generator, not a regular FTL drive. An actual point-to-point gate generator. This technology was lost thousands of years ago. With this, you could open a gateway between any 2 points in space instantly. No travel time. No fuel consumption beyond the initial gate creation." Daewon felt dizzy. "How much is that worth?" "You can't put a price on it. This is priceless. Whoever controls this technology controls travel across the galaxy. Corporations would pay anything for it. Governments would go to war for it." Sujin's face went pale. "We need to hide this information. If anyone finds out about this ship specifically, the situation becomes 10 times more dangerous." But they were too late. The next morning, Eunbi returned to the facility. She looked even more serious than before. "I've completed my assessment," she said. "I need to speak with you privately, Mr. Daewon." They sat in the office. Eunbi pulled out her device but didn't turn it on. Instead, she looked at Daewon with an expression he couldn't read. "I'm supposed to file my report today," she said. "My report will classify 30 of your ships as protected cultural artifacts. The government will seize them for museum preservation. You'll receive a small finder's fee, maybe 1,000,000 credits. The rest will be tied up in legal proceedings for years." "But," Daewon prompted, "but I've been doing this job for 25 years. I've seen too many amazing discoveries disappear into government warehouses where nobody ever sees them again. I've seen corruption destroy historical treasures. And I've seen good people crushed by a system that doesn't care about right or wrong." She leaned forward. "You seem like a decent person. You didn't steal these ships. You bought this property legally. And I've been researching the previous owner. He was a collector who saved these vessels from destruction during the contact wars. He kept them safe, maintained them, preserved them. I think he would want them to continue being protected, not locked away." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I can delay my report for 30 days. That gives you time to figure out a better solution, but you need to promise me something. Whatever you do with these ships, they need to be preserved. They need to be accessible for study. They need to mean something beyond just making you rich." Daewon nodded slowly. "I promise." After Eunbi left, Sujin looked at her brother with new respect. "You're making allies in strange places. I'm trying to do the right thing. That has to count for something." That evening, Daewon finally decided to investigate the broker. Using the station's network, Hyunwoo traced the message back to its source. What he found was surprising. The broker isn't a person, Hyunwoo explained. It's an AI collective, a group of artificial intelligences from a civilization that fell apart 2 centuries ago. They've been living in hidden server farms trying to rebuild their culture. Why do they want the ships? Soo-jin asked. According to the data I found, they're specifically interested in the precursor vessel. They believe its technology could help them create a new physical form, maybe even restore their civilization. Daewon thought about this. An entire species reduced to digital existence, desperate for a second chance at life. He understood that desperation. Set up a meeting, he said. But here in the facility, and with all of us present. The meeting happened 2 days later. The broker appeared as a hologram, a shifting pattern of light and color that occasionally formed something like a face. Thank you for agreeing to meet, the broker said in a voice that sounded like multiple people speaking in harmony. We understand you have questions. Why should we trust you? Soo-jin asked directly. You shouldn't. We are desperate, and desperate beings make poor allies. But we can offer something valuable in exchange for the precursor ship. We can provide protection. What kind of protection? We exist in the station's computer networks. We see everything. We know about the Tovan Syndicate's plans for their next attack. We know about Stellar Acquisition's legal strategy. We know things that could help you survive. And in exchange, we give you the precursor ship? Not give lease. We need temporary access to study its technology. 5 years. After that, it returns to you. We will also share all research data with you. It was a tempting offer. But before Daewon could respond, alarms blared again. Jiwoo's voice came through on the emergency channel. Daewon, Stellar Acquisitions just filed their legal claim. They have a judge's order to seize your facility pending investigation of ownership. They're sending security forces right now. You have maybe 20 minutes. Soo-jin started typing frantically on her computer. This is a rush job. They paid off a corrupt judge. I can fight this, but not in 20 minutes. Daewon looked at the broker's hologram. Can you stop them? We can delay them. Crash their communication systems. Lock doors. Manipulate environmental controls. But it will only buy you hours, not days. You need a permanent solution. Daewon made a decision. Sometimes you had to trust someone, even if it was risky. Help us, and we'll work out a deal for the precursor ship. The broker's hologram flickered with what might have been satisfaction. Agreed. Initiating defensive protocols now. Throughout the station, systems began failing in precise patterns. Doors locked. Elevators stopped. Communication networks crashed. The security forces from Stellar Acquisitions found themselves trapped in corridors, unable to reach Section D-17. But Daewon knew this was only a temporary fix. The real battle was still coming. Soo-jin grabbed his arm. We need a strategy. A real one. Something that ends this permanently. Hyunwoo spoke up. What if we change the game completely? What if we make it so nobody can take the ships because they don't belong to anyone? What do you mean? Daewon asked. Public ownership. Donate everything to a multi-species foundation. If the ships belong to everyone, then nobody can seize them for private gain. Soo-jin's eyes widened. That could work. It removes the profit motive. It satisfies the government's concerns about cultural preservation. And it gives you legal protection as the facility manager. Daewon thought about the promise he made to Eunbi. Preservation, accessibility, meaning beyond money. Let's do it, he said, but we do it right. No corruption. No shortcuts. These ships deserve better. As they began planning, the broker spoke again. You are unusual humans. Most would have chosen wealth over principle. Most humans aren't that different from you, Daewon replied. We all want to survive. We all want to mean something. The question is how we choose to do it. Outside the facility, forces were gathering. The final confrontation was approaching. But for the first time, Daewon felt ready to face it. The news spread faster than Daewon expected. He should have known better. On a station like Omega-7, secrets lasted about as long as ice in a furnace. Too many people noticed the power consumption. Too many sensors detected the unusual readings. And people talked. They always talked. 3 days after Jiwoo's inspection, the first visitor arrived. Daewon was working on cataloging the ships when Hyunwoo called him on the communicator. We have a problem at the front door. 3 people. They look like trouble. Daewon hurried up to the entrance. Through the security camera, he saw 3 figures in matching gray suits. They wore expensive weapons openly on their hips. The leader was a tall man with scars across his face. "Open the door," the man said, looking directly at the camera. "We need to talk business." Daewon activated the intercom. "I'm not interested in business. Please leave." The man smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "You don't understand. I represent the Tovan Syndicate. We control security for this sector. You've acquired valuable property. You need our protection." Daewon knew what this meant. Protection was just another word for extortion. "Pay us or bad things happen." "I don't need protection," Daewon said. The man's smile disappeared. "Everyone needs protection. Accidents happen on stations like this: fires, explosions, missing persons. It would be unfortunate if something happened to you or your property." "Is that a threat?" "It's a reality. You have 24 hours to consider our generous offer. We'll be in touch." The three figures walked away, leaving Daewon shaking with anger and fear. "Who are the Tovan Syndicate?" Hyunwoo asked. "Pirates, smugglers, criminals. They run illegal operations across a dozen stations. And they're dangerous. Very dangerous." The next morning brought a different kind of problem. A woman in an official government uniform appeared at the door. She was older, maybe 50, with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She carried a briefcase and had the kind of face that never smiled. "My name is Yunbi," she said, showing her credentials. "I'm from the Galactic Antiquities Bureau. I'm here to assess your property." This was worse than criminals. Government officials could legally take everything. Yunbi spent 6 hours examining the facility. She took pictures, recorded videos, and filled out endless forms on her portable device. She said very little, just asked questions and wrote down Daewon's answers. Finally, she closed her briefcase and looked at him. "Mr. Daewon, you've discovered one of the most significant archaeological finds in the last century. Several of these vessels are culturally protected artifacts. They cannot be sold or moved without government approval." "What does that mean for me?" Daewon asked. "It means you're in a complicated legal situation. I'll need to file a complete report. The Bureau will make a determination within 30 days about which ships fall under protection laws. In the meantime, nothing can leave this facility." She handed him a document. "Sign this. It confirms you understand the legal restrictions." Daewon read the document carefully. It basically said he couldn't do anything with his own property. But if he refused to sign, they would probably seize everything immediately. He signed. After Yunbi left, a third visitor arrived. This one didn't come to the door. Instead, Daewon received a message on his device from an unknown sender. "I represent a private collector. We are interested in purchasing your entire collection. We can offer immediate payment. No questions asked, no legal complications. Meeting tonight 10 p.m. Dock Bay 7, come alone." Signed, the broker. Daewon showed the message to Hyunwoo. "This is obviously a trap," Hyunwoo said. "Nobody offers that kind of deal without something wrong. But what if it's real? What if this is our way out?" "Out to where?" "If you sell to criminals, you'll be looking over your shoulder forever. If you sell to this broker person, who knows what will happen?" Daewon sat down heavily. "We're trapped. The government won't let me sell. The criminals will hurt me if I don't pay them, and mysterious brokers want to meet in dark places. What am I supposed to do?" That evening, as Daewon was considering his options, Jiwoo appeared again at the door. She looked worried. "I need to talk to you," she said. "Can I come in?" They sat in the small office Daewon had set up. Jiwoo looked uncomfortable. "I need to be honest with you," she said. "I've been reporting information about your facility to someone." Daewon's heart sank. "Who?" "A corporation called Stellar Acquisitions. They've been pressuring me. They have evidence of some mistakes I made years ago. If I don't cooperate, they'll destroy my career." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I can't do it anymore. What they're planning isn't right. They're going to file a legal claim saying they have prior ownership rights to this facility. They have fake documents that say they leased it before you bought it. Can they do that? If they have the right judge, yes. The legal system out here is corrupt. Money talks." Daewon felt like the walls were closing in. Every direction he turned, someone was trying to take what he'd found. "What should I do?" he asked. Jiwoo shook her head. "I don't know. But you need help, real help. Do you have anyone you can trust?" Daewon thought about his sister Soo-jin. They hadn't spoken in 4 years. The last conversation ended with her calling him irresponsible and reckless. But she was a corporate lawyer, one of the best. If anyone could navigate this legal nightmare, it was her. He sent her a message that night. Just a simple text, "I need your help, please." He didn't expect a response. But 30 minutes later, his device rang. Sujin's face appeared on the screen. She looked older than he remembered, more tired. "Day one. It's been a long time." "I know. I'm sorry for everything. What's this about?" Your message sounded desperate. He told her everything. The garage, the ships, the criminals, the government, the mysterious broker. He expected her to yell at him, to tell him he was an idiot. Instead, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "I'll be on the next transport to Omega 7. Don't sign anything else. Don't talk to anyone else. And don't meet with that broker person. I'll be there in 2 days. Sujin, I can't pay you. I don't have any money. We'll figure that out later. Right now you need family. And I'm all you have." After the call ended, Daewon felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. But that hope was short-lived. At midnight, alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Hyunwoo's voice came over the intercom, panicked. "Daewon, someone's breaking in through the auxiliary entrance." Daewon ran to the security station. The cameras showed 6 figures in black armor cutting through a side door with plasma torches. They moved with military precision, spreading out to cover all angles. "It's the Toven Syndicate," Hyunwoo said. "They're not waiting 24 hours. Daewon's fingers flew across the control panel. He had spent the last week learning the facility systems. He knew there were defensive measures built in, but he had never tested them. "Get to the safe room," he told Hyunwoo. "Now." As the intruders entered the main corridor, Daewon activated the facility's security protocols. Lights turned red. Blast doors began closing. And from hidden panels in the walls, automated weapons emerged. The facility had been a military depot. And now, after 40 years of silence, it woke up angry. The automated turrets fired. The intruders scattered, returning fire. But the ancient alien weapons were more powerful than their modern guns. Energy bolts cut through their armor like paper. Within minutes, the intruders were retreating, dragging their wounded back through the hole they had cut. The turret ceased fire as they left the facility's boundaries. Daewon sat back in his chair, his hands shaking. He had just survived his first battle, but he knew it wouldn't be his last. The hunters had found him, and they were only getting started. The lights revealed a reception area that stretched far beyond what should have been possible. Daewon knew the dimensions of Section D-17. This space was at least 3 times larger than it should be. Either the station blueprints were wrong, or this facility extended deep into the asteroid itself. The walls were covered in the same strange metal as the door. Equipment lay scattered around the room, covered in decades of dust. Workbenches, tool racks, and computer terminals filled the space. Everything looked alien but somehow familiar, as if designed by creatures who understood machines the same way humans did. Daewon spent hours exploring the front area. He found storage rooms filled with spare parts he didn't recognize. He found offices with furniture built for bodies with different proportions. He found sleeping quarters that suggested someone had lived here once. But he found no bodies, no bones, nothing to explain what happened to the previous owner. On the 3rd day of exploration, Daewon admitted he needed help. The facility's computer systems were completely alien to him. He couldn't read the language. He couldn't understand the interface. He needed someone who specialized in xenotechnology. He used his last credits to post a job listing on the station's network. To his surprise, he got a response within an hour. Hyunwoo was 26 years old and looked even younger. He showed up at the facility wearing a jacket covered in patches from different tech schools. His hair was messy and he carried a bag full of portable scanning equipment. "So you're the guy who bought this place," Hyunwoo said, looking around with wide eyes. "People are talking about you on the forums. They think you're crazy." "They're probably right," Daewon admitted. "Can you help me or not?" Hyunwoo grinned. "I can try, but I need to tell you my success rate with ancient alien systems is about 50%. That's better than my 0%. They worked together for 3 weeks. Hyunwoo set up his equipment and began scanning everything. He took thousands of pictures, recorded every symbol, and slowly began to decode the alien language. It was similar to a dialect used by a species called the Vorel, who had been extinct for 200 years. "This place is incredible," Hyunwoo said one evening as they ate noodles from the station's food court. "The technology here is at least a century ahead of what we use now. The power systems, the environmental controls, everything is more efficient. Whoever built this was a genius. Can you open the inner doors?" Daewon asked. Hyunwoo nodded. I think so. I've been working on the security protocols. There's a main vault system that leads to the lower levels. According to the computer logs, that's where the actual garage bays are located. But there are warnings. What kind of warnings? The system keeps saying something about preserved assets and unauthorized access will result in termination. I'm not sure if that means the security system will kill us or just lock us out. Daewon thought about this. We've come this far. Let's see what's down there. The next morning, Hyunwoo entered the final code sequence. The computer terminal glowed brighter and a new set of symbols appeared. Then a voice spoke in a language neither of them understood, but the terminal provided a translation in basic galactic standard. Identity confirmed. Welcome, Era Facility. Access granted. The floor beneath them vibrated. A section of the wall slid open, revealing a ramp leading down into darkness. Lights turned on automatically as they walked, illuminating a tunnel that descended deep into the asteroid. They walked for 10 minutes, going deeper and deeper. The air grew colder. The walls changed from metal to raw rock, then back to metal again. Finally, the tunnel opened into a cavern so large that Daewon couldn't see the far wall. And there, arranged in perfect rows, were the ships. 47 spacecraft of various sizes and designs sat in individual bays. Some were small, no bigger than a shuttle. Others were massive, the size of buildings. Each one sat on its own platform with its own maintenance equipment surrounding it. Daewon walked between the rows in shock. He recognized some of the designs from history books. There was a Vorel scout ship with its distinctive curved wings. There was a crystalline transport vessel, its hull made from some kind of transparent material that sparkled in the light. There was something that looked like a human military corvette, but with modifications he had never seen before. This is impossible, Hyunwoo whispered. Some of these ships are museum pieces. They shouldn't exist anymore. They walked deeper into the hangar. Each ship seemed more incredible than the last. Daewon stopped in front of a massive warship painted in deep red and black. The hull was scarred with battle damage, but the ship looked operational. That's a Vorel dreadnought, Hyunwoo said, his voice shaking. Only 3 were ever built. 2 were destroyed in the contact wars. The third one disappeared. People have been looking for it for decades. Daewon reached out and touched the hull. It was real. This was all real. How much do you think this is worth? He asked quietly. Hyunwoo pulled out his device and started calculating. His hands were shaking so badly he kept making mistakes. Finally, he showed Daewon the screen. 2 trillion credits. That was a conservative estimate. If they could prove the ships were authentic and in working condition, the value could be even higher. Daewon sat down on the floor. His legs wouldn't hold him anymore. He owned a fortune that could buy entire planets. He owned ships that museums would kill to acquire. He owned technology that corporations would start wars over. We need to keep this quiet, he said. But it was already too late. The facility's power usage had increased dramatically when they opened the vault. The station's main computer had noticed. Somewhere in the administrative offices, alerts were being generated. Security protocols were being activated. Within an hour, there was a knock on the outer door. Daewon and Hyunwoo exchanged worried glances. Daewon walked back up the tunnel and through the facility to the main entrance. He opened the door carefully. A woman stood outside wearing a station administrator's uniform. She was about Daewon's age, with short black hair and tired eyes. Her name badge read Jiwoo. Good afternoon, she said politely. I'm here to investigate unusual power readings from this facility. May I come in? Daewon wanted to say no. He wanted to slam the door and hide everything, but he knew that would only make things worse. Come in, he said. Jiwoo stepped inside and looked around. She pulled out a scanner and checked the readings. This facility is drawing enough power to run a small city. What exactly are you doing down here? Just cleaning up, Daewon said. Getting the old systems working again. Jiwoo looked at him with an expression that said she didn't believe him for a second. The station's AI flagged this as a potential security risk. I need to do a full inspection. Before Daewon could stop her, she walked deeper into the facility. She found the tunnel. She walked down into the hangar, and she saw the ships. For a long moment, Jiwoo just stood there staring. Then she turned to Daewon with wide eyes. Do you have any idea what you've found? She asked. I'm starting to get an idea. Jiwoo pulled out her communication device, then stopped. She looked at the ships again, then at Daewon. If I report this right now, you'll lose everything. The station will seize it. The government will seize it. You'll be lucky if you get a finder's fee. Are you going to report it? Daewon asked. Jiwoo put her device away. I didn't see anything unusual today. Just an old facility with high power usage because of inefficient old systems. But you need to be more careful. Others will notice. And when they do, you're going to have much bigger problems than a station administrator. She walked back to the entrance, then turned around. Get a good lawyer. You're going to need one. After she left, Daewon and Hyunwoo stood in silence. What do we do now? Hyunwoo asked. Daewon looked back at the hangar full of impossible ships. I don't know, but we need to figure it out fast. Daewon wiped the grease from his hands and looked at his workshop one last time. The small repair bay had been his life for 5 years, but now it was gone. The bank had taken everything. His tools, his equipment, even the sign with his name on it, all because he trusted the wrong business partner with the wrong deal. He walked through the dirty streets of Omega 7 Station, his boots echoing on the metal floors. This place was at the edge of human space, where people came when they had nowhere else to go. The station was built inside a massive asteroid, and most of it was falling apart. Lights flickered in the corridors. The air smelled like oil and recycled water. But it was home, and Daewon had no money to go anywhere else. In his pocket, he had exactly 5,047 credits. That was everything he owned in the universe. It was enough to eat for maybe 3 months if he was careful. After that, he would need to find work, any work. The thought made his stomach hurt. As he turned a corner, he saw a crowd gathering near the main plaza. A large screen showed the station's weekly auction. Every week, the station sold properties that people had abandoned or couldn't pay for anymore. Daewon usually avoided these auctions. They reminded him too much of his own failures, but today something made him stop and look. The auctioneer was a thin man with a mechanical arm. His voice echoed through the speakers. Next item, lot number 47. 1 commercial garage space in section D17 lower levels. Previous owner disappeared 40 years ago. Property sold as is, no inspections, no guarantees. The screen showed pictures of a huge door covered in rust and alien writing. The images were old and blurry. Daewon could barely make out the details. The place looked ancient, forgotten, like a tomb sealed away from the world. Starting bid is 5,000 credits, the auctioneer said. The crowd laughed. Someone shouted, "That section is a death trap." Another person yelled, "You couldn't pay me to go down there." Daewon knew they were right. Section D17 was in the oldest part of the station, where the original alien builders had constructed their facilities. Most humans never went there. The corridors were strange, built for creatures with different bodies. The technology was incompatible with human systems. It was dangerous and useless. But something about that sealed door called to him. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was instinct. Daewon had spent his whole life working with machines, understanding how they worked when nobody else could. He had a gift for seeing value in broken things. 5,000 credits, Daewon heard himself say. The crowd turned to look at him. A few people shook their heads. The auctioneer seemed surprised but quickly recovered. We have 5,000 credits. Do I hear 5,500? Silence. Nobody else wanted this property. Nobody else was foolish enough to bid, going once, going twice. Sold to bidder number 302 for 5,000 credits. Just like that, Daewon had spent almost everything he owned on a property he had never seen. His hands shook as he completed the transaction on his portable device. What had he done? This was insane. He should have saved that money for food and rent. But it was too late now. The deed transferred to his name instantly. He was now the owner of one abandoned garage in the most dangerous part of the station. 3 hours later, Daewon stood in front of the property. The journey down to section D17 had been difficult. He had to take 3 different elevators, each one older and more broken than the last. The final corridor had no lights at all. He used the flashlight on his device to find his way. The door was even more massive than the pictures showed. It stood at least 15 feet tall and 20 feet wide, big enough to fit a small spaceship. The surface was covered in symbols from a language Daewon didn't recognize. The metal looked strange, not like steel or titanium. It seemed to shift colors in his flashlight beam, going from dark blue to deep purple. He touched the surface. It was cold, colder than the station's usual temperature. His breath made small clouds in the air. Nobody had been here in a very long time. The control panel next to the door was dead. Day One tried several commands, but nothing worked. He would need specialized equipment to even begin understanding this technology. Equipment he no longer owned. He sat down on the floor, his back against the strange door. What was he going to do? He had 247 credits left. That wasn't enough to buy the tools he needed. It wasn't enough for anything. For the first time since losing his business, Day One felt tears in his eyes. He was 34 years old and he had nothing. No business, no tools, no family to ask for help. His sister Soo Jin had stopped talking to him years ago after an argument. His parents were dead. He was completely alone. But as he sat there in the dark, his hand touched something on the floor. It was small and round, about the size of a coin. He picked it up and examined it in his flashlight. It was a key, or at least something that looked like a key. The same strange metal as the door with symbols carved into its surface. Day One stood up. He held the key against the control panel, not really expecting anything to happen. The panel suddenly glowed with soft blue light. The symbols on the door began to shine. Day One stepped back as the massive door made a sound like a sigh, as if it had been holding its breath for 40 years. Then, slowly it began to open. Air rushed out from the gap, cold and stale but somehow fresh at the same time. The smell was strange, like metal and something else he couldn't identify. As the door opened wider, Day One saw darkness inside, deeper and more complete than the corridor behind him. He stood at the threshold, his heart pounding. Every survival instinct told him to run away, to seal this door and never come back. But curiosity and desperation pushed him forward. Day One stepped inside his new property and the door closed silently behind him. Lights began to turn on automatically one by one, revealing a space so vast that his breath caught in his throat. This was no ordinary garage. This was something else entirely, and his life would never be the same again.